Hey guys, it's Matt here, welcome back, and today we're going to be doing a review of the S8 Plus. So first up, I'm going to read off some specs. It's a 6.2 inch Quad HD Super AMOLED display with a dual pixel 12 megapixel sensor on the back, 8 megapixels on the front. You also have that new autofocus. You have IP68 water and dust resistant, as well as an iris scanner, 64 gigabytes internal storage, as well as expandable via the SD card, 4 gigabytes of RAM, wireless charging, and Knox. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the display, because I think this is the best display out of any smartphone out right now. It's 18.5:9 aspect ratio. You have rounded corners, which look really nice. I really do love that. You have really contrasted colors, which personally I like. It really pops. And you have a really sharp, crisp 1440p display. So overall, it's really immersive and it's really good when watching videos and playing games. Now this year's display is much larger than last year's. It's got rounded corners, it's got a new aspect ratio, and it's also brighter. So you have the same resolution, although it's stretched over a bigger screen. So you actually have a smaller PPI, but it looks pretty insane nonetheless. Now this brand new display is really good if you want to go do some web browsing, or you want to read some news articles or something like that. You get much more content on the screen, and it's also really good if you want to do some multitasking, because you can actually do things like running two multiple apps at once, or you can watch a YouTube video while browsing the web, or reviewing your social media, or reading your emails, or whatever it might be. You can do both at once. And this is probably the fastest phone at multitasking that I've used. Now this phone comes with edge lighting as well, so it means that I can catch up on my notifications even when my phone is facing down via a colored light that goes around my device. But overall, I'm really happy Samsung expanded the screen, but they did have to have some consequences for that. They actually had to remove the Samsung logo at the top, and at the bottom they had to remove the physical home button. So you now have on-screen buttons, but I'm pretty much fine with that. You can change your button layout as well as your pressure sensitivity, as well as the color of the nav bar at the bottom and stuff like that. Now because they removed that home button on the front, the fingerprint scanner had to move over to the back. So it did have to go at the top next to the camera, and for some people it might be a little bit of a stretch. For me it's actually fine, and overall the actual fingerprint scanner itself is super fast. It works perfectly. It's just kind of difficult to reach up there for some people. Now if it is too much of a problem, you can actually change in the settings your method of security. So you could actually use iris scanning or facial recognition to unlock it. But something I'm a really big fan of is the pressure sensitive home button, and you can actually use it when the display is off, which is so cool. Although something I'm not a big fan of is TouchWiz, so I already changed it after like a week out of the box, and I'm now using Nova Launcher on this device, so I'm pretty happy with it. It's my usual sort of setup. I did tweak it a little bit, but I really just like my Nova setup, and I've never really used Samsung's TouchWiz for long term. Now taking a look at the camera, Samsung have actually reduced the hump on the back quite significantly to the point where you don't even notice it anymore, so I think it's pretty much flush with the device, which is really good. Now on paper you do have the same specs as last year, although Samsung have upgraded the sensor, so you do have different images to last year, and Samsung have also added some software tricks in here as well, so the images do look quite different to last year's, not significantly, but they're a little bit more contrasted, and overall you get a little bit more depth of field. But here's a sample of some 4K video. This is not edited at all, this is really just how I filmed it. It does look quite oversaturated, especially when viewing it on my laptop. It looks a bit crazy, like there's been some sort of movie filter applied, but it doesn't look too bad in the photos. They're really crisp, you have a really good bokeh effect and depth of field, and when zooming in, it's insane. Now I really just like the colors, they really pop for me, and it really is just personal preference, but for me I really like this camera and it's probably my favorite one so far. Now taking a look on the front, this is where Samsung's new phone really shines. It has autofocus on the front, it's really good at low light shown on the left, and on the right shot here we zoom in, it really packs a lot of detail in the front selfies, which is unusual for Samsung because they're usually quite blurry with that beauty face applied. Now taking a look underneath, we have a headphone jack, a USB-C port, as well as a down-facing speaker. I'm really happy Samsung upgraded to USB-C. I've really been waiting that for a long time. Now something I've been really curious about since I bought this was the battery. It's got a smaller battery, larger display, so that equals more power usage and less power available. But somehow Samsung have optimized this really well, and I'm getting about 6 or 7 hours screen on time with full brightness. So I don't know what they've done, but keep doing your thing, Samsung. It's working well. Taking a look on the side, we have our usual placement for the power button. On the other side, we have our volume rocker, and underneath that, we have the new Bixby button. So if you click this opens your card page, which has like your weather, your steps, your news, your photos, all the stuff like that. There's no voice assistant yet, unfortunately, but you do have Google Assistant built in, and I'd probably use that over Bixby anyway, so it's really not much of a big deal. Now you also have Bixby Vision built in, so it means you can point your phone at something and then it will take 10 minutes to scan, and then it will tell you where you can buy something not really related. So yeah, it's not really useful for me. it really doesn't work great for me. I don't know about anyone else's usage, but for me, it just doesn't come up with related stuff at all. And to be honest, it's pretty much useless for me. I've never used it, never will, and I'm really just not a big fan of the whole Bixby thing. Maybe the voice assistant will win me over, we'll see, but it's not out yet because Samsung have failed to deliver it on time. So that's pretty much my only gripe with this, and it's Bixby. I'm just really not a big fan of it, and it's really not impressing me so far. Everything else about the phone is, performance-wise, the camera, battery life, the display, everything is just amazing. The only problem I find with Samsung phones is the software isn't as good as the hardware. Samsung clog up the software with a bunch of apps that Google already make. They remake them, they remake all the services, they remake the voice assistant. They pretty much compete with Google, and it just clogs up the device with 2 of every single app. And it really does bother me. That's the only gripe I have about this device. Everything else in terms of performance is super good. So anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed my video. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.